In this RightPlantz conversation, I get to speak with Ed Klaas, the owner of Southern Sprinkler Systems in Roswell, Georgia. 20 years ago, Ed had a successful career as an attorney, and his wife Silvina was a successful architect. But they felt something was missing in their lives, the opportunity to give back more to their community. So they turned to the green industry by purchasing a small irrigation company in their town. Today, Southern Sprinkler Systems is a profitable and growing enterprise, and Ed and Silvina have dedicated a large part of their life to philanthropy. But the conversation takes a personal turn when Ed tells us how he's recovering from COVID-19 and the impact it has had on him, his family, and of course, his business. So please won't you join me for this RightPlantz conversation with Ed Klaas and Southern Sprinkler Systems. Stay tuned. Ed, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Bruce. As we were talking a little bit offline, I'm just coming out of 15 days of quarantine from COVID-19, and I've been out for a week, and I'm still dragging. So I apologize in advance if I'm not as chipper as I should be. And I'm going to rely on some notes as a result. I got a little bit of mental fog still, but I'll get through it, and hopefully every day, God willing, I'll be getting better. So
that sounds great. I'm so glad that you're feeling better, and I hope that your mending continues to improve and you can get back to everything you love to do. And I really appreciate you being here today, so thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Before we start with our questions, just a little background on Southern Sprinkler Systems, if you would. What year did you found it? Who do you serve? How many employees do you have? Things like that. And where is Roswell, Georgia?
All right. So Roswell, Georgia is the second town just north of Atlanta. Sandy Springs was incorporated about 10 years ago, and out of what used to be part of unincorporated Fulton County, and then Roswell is just north of that. It's an old town. It was here at the time of the Civil War. General Sherman came through and burned the cotton mills, and it's got quite a history. A beautiful town. I love it here. We started Southern Sprinklers, my wife and I, 20 years ago in the year 2000. At that time, I was still practicing law, and she is an architect. And she was looking for something to do because she was bored to tears while I was working all the time. And so it's a long story, but through a friend of a friend, we learned about a need, a friend who had a big landscaping company. And so we started, we bought a little company with just 8 employees, and my wife did a lot of the design and the original purchasing and things like that. And I was doing stuff in the evenings when I wasn't working. And after a while, after we won the rights to do work at Centennial Olympic Park, the major, it's like the Central Park of Atlanta, if you will, the center of the 1996 Olympic Games here in Atlanta.
I've been there.
I realized that I needed to focus on it more, and I was tired of traveling. I've been all over the world. I've been in probably 85 countries and 47 of the 50 states, and I just wanted to have a family, and I wanted to be involved in my community, and I knew that I was never going to be able to do that unless I made a change. So I took a leap of faith, and we've had good times and bad times. We had a full outdoor water ban from June 10th, 2007 to September 27th, 2009. That was devastating. We have one source of water, Lake Lanier and the Chattahoochee River for the city of Atlanta. And they, when those were running low, the State Environmental Protection Division literally turned off all outdoor water use. So it's pretty hard to sell sprinkler services when your customers can't use water. Yeah. Those who had wells were still able to survive. And so the well drillers were really, really busy during that period of time. And as it turned out, we had a flood of the millennium just after that. And Lake Lanier, that was supposed to take 3 years to fill back up, was filled back up in a couple of weeks. Wow. And we went through the recession. We had a double whammy at that time. We were going through the same recession that everybody else was. So it was hard. We laid off a lot of employees, and I took an equity line of credit on my house, which I wouldn't recommend. We had a good bit of equity in it, and we paid that all off. But we were all in. So at any given time, we have as few as 9 employees and as many as 27.
Wow.
And we specialize in, excuse me, in repairs, maintenance, specifically. And we used to do a lot of installations, but what I noticed was when we were doing just installations in the beginning, at the end of the year, when we started the spring again, we had no customers. We were starting all over again. And I realized that the revenue stream was going to come through maintenance. Currently, we have about 2,350 maintenance customers.
Wow.
80% residential, 20% commercial. And we have as much work as we can handle. I'll talk about that just a little bit.
So you really pivoted to the maintenance side, and that improved your cash flow.
Yes, and in fact, we don't do any installations now unless we find ourselves in the late fall slowing down between all the work that we do during the summer and when we begin our winterizations the first Monday after Thanksgiving. But for friends and things, we'll do installations as well. But it's more labor intensive. Georgia clay is pretty hard here at the end of the summer, and there are always surprises with installations, and maintenance is more of a specialty, a niche, if you will, that a lot of people don't want to do. So we're glad to do it.
And it's predictable income.
Absolutely.
Predictable work. I'm sure there are other sprinkler companies in your area. I mean, Atlanta is a big metropolitan, and I'm sure Atlanta is your market, as well as north of the city. What sets Southern Sprinkler Systems apart from the other companies, do you think?
Okay, so I have a little bit of a different answer for this question than most people might anticipate. Pardon me.
Go ahead.
So my answer is that we no longer spend money on advertising. I think a lot of other companies spend money on advertising and lots of it. We used to spend a fortune on it, but now we don't, and we have more work than we can handle. We provide quality workmanship and a reasonable price, and we stand by our warranties. And the biggest thing is being involved in our community. It gives us a positive reputation, and after a period of time, our happy customers are the ones that are doing the best advertising for us. We now use those advertising dollars to give back to the community in a number of ways. I highly recommend it, but of course, in Bruce's case, I'm preaching to the choir because he's known for that too. But that visibility and goodwill sets us apart from most others, and it makes us not only successful, but also very fulfilled in what we do. I think that the primary thing that sets us apart, I think that this is a primary thing that sets us apart from most other companies. A lot of the companies in our area, and there are a couple of exceptions, they do their work and they save their money, but they don't participate. You don't see them engaged in the community at all. People know us as much for our philanthropy as for the work we do. It's the opposite in a way of a vicious cycle. The more we do and give, the more we seem to get back in return. But of course, you have to do quality work as well, or the rest really doesn't matter.
Sure. Well, your philanthropy is well known in the industry as well, and of course, we've had the chance to work on a very big project together for years. So you're a model for everybody. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for you.
So you started out a little differently than most of us. Most of us started off essentially with a pickup truck, a wheelbarrow, and a mower. You bought a business. You had a successful law practice. Your wife was successful in architecture. I think that teaming those two together is a little scary to me in our industry, but you've made it work fantastically. What advice would you give to somebody starting out in the irrigation business that you wish somebody had told you?
Yeah, I would say that my background is very rare. I actually did meet another attorney in a town called Austell to the west of Atlanta about 20 years ago. He got tired of practicing law as well and had a successful landscaping company. So he and I are kind of oddballs in that way.
Yeah.
So I would say that if you want to install systems and maintain them, that you need to know, first of all, in Georgia, that the work can be really tough. The clay is hard and the temperatures can sometimes just be absolutely brutal. For example, last year here in Roswell, we experienced 91 days of 90+ degree heat.
Wow.
That's a lot. That was a record. We broke a record last year.
You have humidity too.
Oh my goodness, the humidity's high. So it takes a special person to be able to endure that day in and day out.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, are you physically and mentally prepared to work outside in those types of conditions? And so in my case, after more than 20 years in the business and at age 56, I can tell you that I can't tolerate the heat the way that I used to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, however, and as the business owner and not the person doing the heavy work in the field, my answer would be different than than that of others who work outside all day.
Sure. Great answer. Great.
May I ask just a little bit more? If you're, this is the perspective from the business owner. If you're starting your own business, you need to understand business. It doesn't matter what widget you're selling or what service. It has to be about business first. That means procedures, human resources, bookkeeping, training, advertising, social media and marketing, sales, inventory, taxes, a business plan, professional relationships, visibility, equipment, government regulations, local codes, etc. There are many things that you have no idea you're going to encounter before you get started. As I mentioned in practice law, there are so many things about running a business that I didn't know and that they didn't teach me in either college or in law school. So somewhere along the lines, you have to learn them. And there are many obstacles to overcome, and I stumbled mightily along the way. My suggestion would be to take courses on accounting and business, surround yourself with professionals and hardworking, responsible, ethical people who will supplement some of your blind spots. Join trade associations and continue learning. Some things stay the same, but many things change over time. You have to keep up if you want to lead.
Well said. That was a great list of skill sets, and it's probably just scratching the surface of what we have to do on an everyday basis. And sometimes I wonder how we even get through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff we, as business owners, we have to do. On the other side, what advice would you give to a homeowner who wants to hire an irrigation specialist?
Well, I'll give you an example of something that occurred to me recently. I would say that homeowners have to do their homework, and with irrigation contractors and any other contractor, there are good and bad companies out there. Last year, we had a terrible experience with a general contractor for work at our home after a pipe broke in the basement and did a lot of damage, water damage and mold. The contractors that we ultimately hired, they told a great story, made a terrific sales pitch, but when it came to the work, they were absolutely horrible. They were way over budget, never met their deadlines, had a terrible reputation that we were unaware of until we got started and started digging. By that time, it was too late, though. They didn't have proper licenses or insurance, and they left us in a bind. We had to fire them and then finish the work ourselves. The same is true with irrigation contractors, especially in a state like Georgia that's really unregulated. There are no barriers to entry. You could be working at McDonald's one day, get fired, and start an irrigation business the next day. So you're going to find those who are professional with marked vehicles, trained employees, references, a real office staff, proper insurance, and legitimate guarantees that they stand by their work. And there are others who don't have these things and who often just don't care. So caveat emptor is the Latin for buyer beware.
Sure. So
do your homework.
So really do your homework. That's what I was going to say. I think that's true in just about anything. Anytime you welcome somebody to work on your home, do your homework, research the company, make sure that what they're presenting is what's real. What's one, I think I know the answer is, but what's one thing you want a potential customer to know about Southern Sprinkler Systems?
Well, as I was mentioning, there are all types of contractors out there. Companies in Metro Atlanta, like most of the country, run the gamut from guys working out of the back of an old minivan to larger, well-established landscape companies with irrigation divisions. And I'll use an example of High Growth Partners. It's owned by an NALP member, Jim McCutcheon. Bruce and I know him well. It's a very professional company. It's much larger than I would ever want to be. And I've never aspired to that. We found our niche. We do just irrigation and nothing else. And so a lot of our customers are landscapers who do really good landscaping work, but they don't want to get involved in irrigation. They don't want the headaches, so they come to us. We treat our customers and employees with respect. We treat them like family, truly. We have great stories of relationships that we've had since going back to the very beginning. And we do truly strive to be the very best. We sometimes don't reach our own standards, but we admit it and try to make up for it and always do good by the customer.
Sure.
Might sound like a cliche, but the buck does stop with me, and I demand high standards. And if we mess up, we fix it.
Yeah.
We try not to mess up very often.
Well, we all mess up at some point, but I think you hit the nail on the head that this is really a people business. Whether it's a customer, a partner, employees, we're in the industry of people before we're in the industry of anything.
Absolutely.
And how we treat them, how we treat others is how we're treated every day. You've been through horrible experience with COVID-19, and I'm glad it wasn't worse than what it was or is. How has it affected your company, and what do you think your company will look like when we get past this, assuming we will?
That's a really tough question. I'm also looking at a photo of my wife and 2 kids. Bruce knows them as well through work we've done at Arlington National Cemetery, and that's just so important for me. It was very scary being quarantined away from them, knowing that I couldn't help them if they got sick as well. And I also have responsibility for my 96-year-old grandmother who's in assisted living. We moved her here last year, and I told her, Grandma, if you get sick, there's nothing I can do for you. So please do your best to stay away from people, at least while I'm in quarantine. So I mentioned about the 1,000-year drought, and that happened from 2006 to 2009. We could see it was getting worse, and I was president of the Georgia Irrigation Association at the time and very involved at the national level with trade associations. But when the State Environmental Protection Division turned off the water, it was just devastating. And the C-19 pandemic is catastrophic in many ways. I mentioned that I contracted it and was quarantined. And if I'm going to be completely transparent and sincere, I believe that the worst is still to come, and that our economy is in for a very rough ride. I hope I'm wrong. We all need to take it seriously, and people need to prepare for really tough times. And preparation is really key, I think. I'm sorry, but on this one, my glass is half empty, and it may be because I've just been through it. But so I am an Eagle Scout, and I try to live by the motto, be prepared. And so that would be the advice that I would give to everybody, no matter what. Be prepared with your family, be prepared for any outcome that may be, because a lot of things are going to be beyond our own control. Control the things that we can control.
So I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but briefly, while we still have a few minutes, what have you done to prepare your company to get through COVID? And what have you done to prepare your family?
It's tough on my children, but I don't let them go out. They don't go to the grocery stores. They don't socialize with their friends except for from a distance. We always wear masks religiously. In the office, we've allowed people to work from home. The technicians, generally when they work 2 to a truck, that's just a philosophy that we've had with service. I just like having 2 people to a truck, and some of my peers across the country, they take different positions on that, and they're different arguments. But in this case, we have 1 person per truck, because I have to be able to keep people socially distanced from each other. We sterilize like crazy. All the trucks contain masks and gloves and Lysol, which has been a challenge to get, I have to say. I don't know how it is in other parts of the country, but it is brutal to get down here. And so we sterilize the office at the end of the day. We just continuously emphasize hand washing with our customers. We don't take checks anymore. We're sort of in the 21st century in that regard. We've always done, we've taken electronic payments, but now we just demand electronic payments. So our customers can pay through our website, or they can pay through different links that we send them. We send them electronic invoices at the end of the work, and our office staff follows up with regard to payments, but we just don't take checks. And we demand for the safety of our customers, and especially for our technicians, that they maintain social distancing. When we go to the houses, we've found that we've been a lot more efficient because, again, as I was saying, we're kind of people, if you will. We spend a lot of time. I know I do. When I go to a job site, I talk to the customers. I talk to them about their favorite sports. I talk to them about their kids and their families and vacations and everything. We just don't do that now. We're much more efficient. We're getting down to work. We show up, we do the work, we don't interact with the customers, and we leave and go to the next customer.
Sure.
So a lot of changes have taken place, and actually some of them are good. We have to think in ways that we haven't thought of in the past, and that's positive. That's always good. Shake things up a bit.
It's certainly forced us to be efficient.
Absolutely.
On the note of talking to customers and not talking to customers, I kid with my wife that it's a really good time to be an introvert, which I am by nature. So it's worked out fine for me. Last question, and you may have already hinted at it a little bit, but you've come a long way in 20 years. What do you think Southern Sprinkler Systems will look like in 5 more years?
Gosh, I wish I had that crystal ball. But if I were to guess, I would just think that we would be bigger and better, more efficient, for sure. We're always going to try to bring in quality employees and maintain most of our same customers while continuing to grow. That's one thing that makes me really happy. We have customers going back literally 17, 20 years. We have customers from that we did the original installations for the first year and a half, and we have maintenance customers from the very beginning. So I'm hoping that we will be the same. Me personally, I'd like to be in the office less frequently than I already am, because I'd like to have a team that's running things flawlessly without me around all the time. I'm certainly transitioning to that now. I spend more time on philanthropic endeavors than I do at work, which is kind of strange for my employees, but I want to continue doing that, and it gives me a lot of joy. And there's still a lot to be done before I can move into that phase of my life fully. But I'm a Roswell Rotarian. I love Rotary, and I'm the president of the PTA at my kids' high school. There's a 48-person board, 47 of them are women, and I'm the president. So I must be a glutton for punishment, that's for sure. But I love it. I love being involved in my community. That's really who I am. And really, that's why I left the practice of law. So that's worked out for me. And when I am able to transition away from Southern Sprinklers on a full-time basis, then I'll still have my hands full. I won't just be fishing.
Outstanding. I mean, congratulations to you on 20 years of great success. And I'll be thinking about you, hoping your recovery continues along a very positive route. And thank you for everything that you do in your community and for our industry. And I really appreciate you being on RightPlantz today. This will help out a lot of contractors who want to learn from people who've had great success such as you. So thank you so much.
Well, Bruce, you're a great guy, and you are a shining example of how to do things right in our industry. And
thank you.
Bringing people in to do these types of interviews that's fun. That's the good stuff. And I hope that I've given a couple of nuggets that might be helpful. So,
I think absolutely you have. So have a great day. If you'll just hang on for a minute, I'm going to stop recording. We can chat a little more.
All right. Thank you, everyone.